Coming up on the Cowboys Report, Terrance Williams is gone. The Cowboys have declined his apparent player option. Either way, he is not going to be a member of the Dallas Cowboys. In other rather not surprising news, David Irving might also be on the way out. We'll break down the latest report on David Irving and why the Cowboys, for good reason, don't want to bring him back. One player they do want to bring back, that is DeMarcus Lawrence. The franchise tag window is open. Are the Cowboys going to let him leave? Are they going to tag him? We've got the old conflicting reports. We'll tell you what you need to know, what you don't need to know on DeMarcus Lawrence, and who to believe. All that and more coming up right now. Hello friends, welcome into the Cowboys Report presented by BetDSI, the internet's #1 sportsbook. I'm your host Tom Downey, and we'll start things off with the Terrance Williams news. He is no longer a member, at least he won't be a member of the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys have declined their player option on T. Will, which, I'll be honest, I didn't know they actually had. It's $2.25 million in savings, $2.5 in dead money. It's a move that shouldn't surprise anyone. And for the Cowboys, this is a no-brainer, right? Terrance Williams did not contribute last year. In total, you saved $2.25 million. And by the way, because apparently it was a player option, you actually can still technically get the chance at a comp pick if and when Terrance Williams signs somewhere else, although I don't think it's going to matter too much there in the end, at least beyond just the actual volume number. So as we've done before, because we knew T. Will was not going to be back on the Dallas Cowboys, here is the wide receiver depth chart with Terrance Williams not included. Amari, Michael Gallup, those two are your top two for now at least. Cole Beasley, Tavon Austin, we'll see about them. Allen Hurns could also be cut. It saves $5 million. That's a lot of money to save for a potential number 3 or number 4 receiver. And then Noah Brown, Devin Smith, Cedric Wilson, Lance Lenoir, all competing for a role at wide receiver as well. But in the end, this is not a surprise for anyone, really. Terrance Williams no longer a member of the Dallas Cowboys. Let's talk rumors then around DeMarcus Lawrence. Is he going to get the franchise tag or not? As we have before, we'll stick with 2 stars on this rumor. The old conflicting reports, the most recent being from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. But we'll start things off with the oldest one. Ian Rappaport says a tag is likely. It's expected for DeMarcus Lawrence today. Here we are on Tuesday. No franchise tag has been applied yet. And that's what the local beat guys say, that a tag is not going to be applied on DeMarcus Lawrence, which frankly, if the Cowboys slap a tag today on Lawrence, I think he'd actually take it as a bit offensive. Like, oh, you're just going to tag me again? Let's get the long-term deal done. And both sides do want a long-term deal. It's going to be expensive, but DeMarcus Lawrence has had 2 very solid seasons in a row. I expect you'll see both these sides move closer to a deal before that March 5th deadline. Now, if March 5th comes and there is no long-term deal yet, that's when you apply a franchise tag. Now, Lawrence does not want to play on the tag, but for the Cowboys, you cannot let Tank hit the open market, because a team like the Colts could outbid him. They've got more cap space and a big need at defensive end, and Lawrence will get to go play for a former coach in Matt Eberflus. Now, if a tag is applied, it'll cost $20.5 million for just this year. That's a lot of money, and Tank probably wants that per year, so on a 5-year deal, you're looking at him becoming a $100 million man. And this is where things get dicey. If there is no long-term deal, Lawrence has made it clear he does not want to play on the tag. He'll undergo shoulder surgery, which he needs, by the way. Not a huge issue, but he does need it. It's a rather minor injury overall, played through it this year. But at that point, all of a sudden you're asking the Cowboys to get DeMarcus Lawrence in camp when he might not want to show up. So get that long-term deal done for Tank, ideally before the March 5th deadline. I lean towards, yes, it will end up getting done. The Cowboys have been vocal that they want to get DeMarcus Lawrence locked up long-term. I think there's plenty of good reason to do that. He's an immensely talented defensive end, and I think he's overall the NFL's top free agent this year. It's a good reason to make sure DeMarcus Lawrence stays with the Cowboys long-term. So what would you pay DeMarcus Lawrence per year? If you missed it, we did break down a projected DeMarcus Lawrence contract. Go subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/Dallas Cowboys Report, and you'll find it there. Either way, it's going to be a big, big money amount for DeMarcus Lawrence, and frankly, rightfully so. Now, today's show is brought to you by BetDSI, the internet's #1 sportsbook. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code Cowboys120 for a 120% deposit bonus. So you put down $50 and BetDSI is going to hook you up with an extra $60 to bet with for free. You're not going to find a better deal out there. So go to chatsports.com/bet and use that promo code Cowboys120. We'll stick with some more defensive line talk here around David Irving. Did the Cowboys not want him anymore? Well, yeah, 4 stars. This really shouldn't come as any type of surprise there. The report from the Dallas Morning News is that the Cowboys don't want to bring David Irving back. To which I say, good. This is a player who, yes, he's talented. Yes, he'd be cheap. After his ankle injury, he's missed meetings, drug tests, and it's fairly clear David Irving doesn't love football. I think it's more likely right now that David Irving is out of football altogether than back in Dallas in 2019. Immensely talented. I feel bad for him as a person. But it's very clear that David Irving still has a substance abuse problem, and his focus is not there, and the effort's not there. This is different than Randy Gregory. For starters, just from a practical standpoint, the Cowboys have to actively pay David Irving, re-sign him to bring him back. With Randy Gregory, they could stash him on the commissioner's exempt list or on the suspension list. They didn't have to re-sign him and pay him all this money. And by the way, Randy Gregory cared. I think David Irving has shown time and time again through his actions that he does not care. Now, he can keep playing dumb on Instagram and pretending, oh, I haven't been cut or whatever. He's a free agent. His contract is up. I will be stunned if David Irving is back on the Cowboys next year. At a certain point, despite the talent, the headache is no longer worth it. And unfortunately, that's what David Irving has become for the Cowboys. Speaking of headaches, how about Antonio Brown and people that want to trade for him sometimes? Here is, without a doubt, the stupidest thing you'll see all week, if not all year. The Steelers SB Nation site said the Cowboys should trade Leighton Vander Esch for Antonio Brown. And not only that, presented and had the audacity to say this is a great deal for the Cowboys. First off, Antonio Brown doesn't even make sense for the Cowboys. You trade for him, you trade for Mr. Big Chest, as he wants to go by now, which makes absolutely no sense. It means you lose other key players in the future. You made your move for a big-name wide receiver. If the Cowboys didn't already have Amari Cooper, I'd consider it. This is not a team that throws the ball 40 times a game. You think Antonio Brown's going to be happy when he had a tough time sharing the ball with Juju Smith-Schuster in the Steelers offense that threw it way more than the Cowboys does? How's he going to feel sharing it with Amari Cooper? This is the dumbest thing I have ever heard in my life. You want me to trade away Leighton Vander Esch, my star young linebacker who's making next to nothing, for Antonio Brown, who also says he wants a new contract now? Why would I ever do this? This is a terrible idea. This is some crackpot theory proposed by a stupid Steelers fan. That's the only possible explanation here. This is dumb. SB Nation, you should be ashamed for letting that article ever be published. Now, one player who does make sense to go acquire is Gerald McCoy. I'll give this one 2 stars, 4 in terms of the idea of it, but a little bit less in terms of the practicality of it. Now, if and when the Bucs cut Gerald McCoy, he is a perfect target for the Dallas Cowboys. In addition to being a potential cap casualty, that means that the Cowboys wouldn't lose any type of potential comp picks going forward. I don't think they'd get one for this upcoming class, but either way, it helps you out in the end. McCoy, I think, would be a fantastic addition to the Dallas Cowboys. And yeah, his numbers haven't been what they were in his prime, 8.5 in 2015, down to 6 the past 2 years, but you take that, right? I mean, that becomes one of your best interior defensive linemen, if not your outright best interior defensive lineman. And by the way, I think Rod Marinelli would get the most out of Gerald McCoy as well. My only concern here is the market might be a little bit too much for the Cowboys. The reason everyone wants Gerald McCoy, for at least the Cowboys fans, is the same reason the fan bases of almost every NFL team want Gerald McCoy. He's a big name, still playing fairly well, might not be overly expensive, but because everyone wants him, that's also going to drive up the market price. As I always do, guys, I am wearing a Mizzen and Main shirt. Go check them out, comfortable.af. You will not find a better shirt, any shirt, dress or otherwise, than a Mizzen and Main one. That URL again, comfortable.af. It does check out because these things are super comfortable. Next up, some more signing/re-signing news here. LP LaDouceur, is he going to be back with the Cowboys? 3 stars on this one, bordering on 4, quite frankly. The report from The Athletic is the Cowboys plan to re-sign LP, their always reliable long snapper. I love the idea. The only reason it's not 4 is because the Cowboys might plan on it. It does require LP signing off. And it's not that LP's going to leave. It's that he's 37 years old. He could retire at any point. Now, he has literally been perfect for the Dallas Cowboys. No bad snaps in his entire NFL career. That's insanely impressive. And the less we say LP typically means the better that he's doing, because you don't ever actually want to know your long snapper's name, because it's only mentioned when things go poorly. But bring him back in. As long as he wants to keep playing, as long as he's not snapping it over heads of everybody, he's got a spot on my roster. Now we'll go back to Tom ranting again. Does Dak Prescott want $200 million? This is fake news. I was very surprised over the past couple of days to see the Twitter sphere and the headlines and the social media saying that, quote, Dak wants $200 million. It kind of came up out of nowhere, and I backtraced it. This is how a rumor/story ends up becoming fake news. Now, could Dak actually get $200 million? Sure. If it's a 7-year deal, that's right in line with what we projected Dak Prescott, around that $29-30 million per year range. But at no point has anyone said that Dak Prescott has demanded $200 million from the Dallas Cowboys. So here's how this rumor report started. It began with the Cowboys Wire doing their projection of a Dak Prescott contract, which is fine. It was a longer-term deal, and it became about $200 million. They put $200 million in the headline for reasons that I kind of understand there. Then Black Sports Online takes it and goes full clickbait fake news bullshit and says Dak Prescott wants $200 million. That's literally not what the article was about. That's not what it said. That was not the purpose of it. So if someone tells you that Dak wants $200 million, that's a lie. That's not what was written. That's not what was said. But in the interest of getting clicks around the Dallas Cowboys, we're going to slap $200 million and a want and Dak together. Now, Dak could still get $200 million. Again, I'll make that point clear because 7-year deal actually kind of ends up working out that way. Now, what should the Cowboys do with Dak Prescott? This will be a debate, I think, for quite some time. I'll make it clear again. I am a pro-pay Dak now guy because it makes more sense long-term financially. It does depend on you believing in Dak Prescott, but if you believe in Dak and you say wait, you're only costing yourself more money long-term and, frankly, a significant amount as well. One last item for the day, non-rumor related, but Tony Romo is going to play in a PGA Tour event. You're welcome. I thought about making this Romo playing in Dallas 4 Stars because it would have been funny, but I didn't want to trigger anybody there. So he's going to play in the AT&T Byron Nelson at the Trinity Forest Golf Course, his second sponsor's exemption on the PGA Tour. When I first heard this, I went, oh, guys, May 11th, May 12th, we should have the Cowboys Report hosted there. That seems like a fantastic idea. And then I remembered, oh, that's right, that's May 12th to May 11th. I'm getting married that weekend, so therefore that's not really going to be an option. Speaking of that, where should I go on my honeymoon? Let me know in the comments section or DM me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney. All kinds of options still on the table for us. We got to book kind of soon, though. We've kind of been dragging our feet a little bit there. So let us know, where should I go? Let me know, I should say. Where should I go on my honeymoon? Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.